Welcome back to part 2 of episode 22. It's time for us to go into Groundhog Day. 1993 is when that movie came out, and you would think that it would have come out every year since then and just repeating, but they decided not to do that. For those who don't know, the basic story of Groundhog Day is not like some kind of actual specific story of Groundhog Day, like we're gonna do the historical significance or anything like that. You have a guy who's caught in a blizzard, and he's trying to do the news report for Groundhog Day, and the day keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. So the blizzard part is where it factors into the winter part, not the time travel, because we're not doing a time travel month. Maybe in the future we'll revisit Groundhog Day if we do that, I don't know. But as far as first impressions go, Caroline, what were your first impressions of Groundhog Day, and when's the first time that you saw the movie?
Oh, I watched it when I was young. It was one of those movies that for some reason kept playing on Brazilian TNT a lot. Like every other week, they would play the movie. One, I had no idea that Groundhog Day was an actual thing when I first watched it. I had no idea that you guys celebrated that or whatever.
Well,
Not really.
I'm gonna cut you off real quick to throw this out there because you brought up a point that I didn't have in my notes to bring up later on or whatever. This movie, actually, they changed the title a bunch of times because in other countries they were like, nobody's going to know what the fuck Groundhog Day is.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called in Portuguese, but it was definitely not Groundhog Day.
There's like The Day That Never Ends, I think is one of them or something like that, and like it's all over the place with that. But anyway, continue what you were saying.
I can see that. I'm not a big comedy or romance fan, as you guys all probably know by now. But I do like Bill Murray a lot, so it was an alright movie.
Dace, what about you?
It's one of my favorite Bill Murray films when it comes to his comedies, even though some of his other stuff's starting to get a little weird. Or doing the comedy thing where it completely tricks you at the end and makes you feel something. I hate that. This one was great because it took a concept where it was going to repeat the same day every day for 2 hours, and it did well. I thought it was funny each time his day was repeated. So that was a concept that could have, if done wrong, could have been really bad.
Cheng?
I'm like with a little bit with Dace on this, where it's like this is a good Bill Murray comedy. It's just like perfect '90s Bill Murray, where he's like the everyday man. I saw this movie when I was a kid on like on TV, also like TBS or TNT, whatever. It was like repeating this. I was too young to like see this in theaters. The thing about it was, I think this was billed originally as a comedy sci-fi movie because like it had that like almost like time travel element into it of like repeating the day. So I remember a lot of like TV station kind of marketing it like really strange. Like I kind of remember this on Sci-Fi too. Like it was just like it's kind of like a sci-fi movie, like Groundhog Day.
For our sci-fi movie trilogy, we're gonna do Alien and Terminator and Groundhog Day.
Oh, like it's a funny, like, because it is kind of sci-fi-ish for repeating the day over and over again to that degree.
A little bit. There's definitely some sci-fi elements that they cut out of the script, actually. Originally, the time loop was going to be caused by a former lover that is a witch. And she just cast a spell on him to be like, fuck you.
Yeah, like fantasy sci-fi. So, like, that kind of explains the whole loop. Because it seems like all you do is piss off, like, something and like Pittsburgh, and this is what happens.
Well, what do you guys think about that idea? Do you like it better where you don't know what the time loop is caused from, or would you rather have had some kind of an explanation?
I think it's being ambiguous made it better, because then
I agree.
You get into all those like time paradox things and all that stuff, and then it's just kind of like, ugh. Now I'm going to point out why that theory is stupid.
Well, some people even thought for a while that it was something about him actually being God, because he says in the movie, I guess I'm God. And then they were like, well, maybe this happens to every God. There's a theory out there that everybody's God, and that it's like, I wish I knew the theory the name of the theory off the top of my head, but I don't. It's basically revolves around every single person is a reincarnation of God, and you experience every possible life that has ever happened and ever will happen, because it takes all of that experience to understand the scope of what it would be like to be a god. So some people brought that into this, and it was just kind of like, well, that's way too fucking confusing. Just make it, he wakes up and hilarity ensues. Kind of.
I mean, I think this came out like right at the tail end of Scrooge. like Scrooge came out the year prior or 2 years. It's like the same thing of like Bill Murray being tormented by something, and he learns a lesson at the end, kind of thing.
Let's see. Scrooge came out 88.
Okay,
and this was 93, so a couple years later.
A couple years later, but it's like the same kind of like he becomes a better person by the end of it.
Well, originally the person who was going to play the character was Tom Hanks, and then they decided, no, he doesn't seem like much of a jerk. Get Bill Murray.
It takes a while for Tom Hanks to be like a jerk.
Because at the beginning of the movie, it would have just been like, oh, he's a nice guy. And then it's like he doesn't have any kind of emotional arc. He's just a nice guy who becomes nicer.
It's like Groundhog Day's one day.
Yeah, he just wakes up like it's a normal day, and it's like, what? I'm already a nice guy. And I already know everybody in town because I'm Tom Hanks. So what were your thoughts when it came to how long he spent with this loop? Because I've double-checked a bunch of different things, and there are basically 4 theories that are out there. So before I say what those 4 are, I want to go around here and see what you guys think. Cheng, what do you think was the amount of time he spent in that loop?
I mean, I kind of read a little bit, and I thought it was like at least 10 years. And 10 years makes sense for all the things he like became good at, just to like plan and learn.
Dace, what about you?
I would think at least a year or so. I mean, I never really thought too much into it. Just that, like Cheng said, you had to do it a couple times, well, a lot of times to get that good to stop people from falling in holes and shit.
Caroline?
I think like 2 years maybe, or 3.
So the 4 that I've come across online and through interviews and different things like that, the lowest amount was 7 to 10 years.
Wow.
Then it was 27 years. Then somebody did, I think it was like What Culture or whatever, they did the math of how many years it would take for them to learn certain tricks and stuff. Like he throws the cards and he learns how to play the piano. Their calculation for that was 33 years. But Harold Ramis originally thought upwards of 10,000 years.
Oh, jeez.
What?
Yeah, so that's like, I can't even imagine that.
I mean, if you think about the end, where he gets everything correct, like every possible scenario, where he's just like this town celebrity and an overnight sensation, basically. Like that couldn't be like the first time he pulled it all as like a giant hat trick. Like he had to like fuck up one time where it didn't go right at one point, so you had to probably repeat that process again.
Which I couldn't do that. I'd go nuts.
Right. So that's even like I said, the piano part takes at least 10 years to get to like his level. So if you're playing for like an hour in that time, because he could only play that one lesson, like for that one piano teacher that he would just practice with. But that's what I'm saying. Like that's why I was like, okay, 10 years seems reasonable, but like 10,000 years, I'm like, yeah, that also could be. But at that point, like, like who knows what else you're good at.
And you got to imagine, if you're there for even 10 years, let alone 10,000 years or whatever like that, there's got to be so many days where he just doesn't get out of bed. He's just kind of like, nah, just fuck it. I'm not going to do it today.
Well, there was that really weird montage where he starts killing himself. So, like,
yeah.
That's my favorite part.
How kind of like dark is that, though? I mean, he gets to a point where he's just kind of like, well, I guess I'm just going to throw a toaster in the bath, and I guess I'm just going to drive off a cliff. And I mean, I would get to that point too, I'm sure. And you got to imagine by that point it's been a couple of years if this is like the lowest amount is 7 years.
You might try to mess around every day to see what new horrors await you. But like, what if that was the key and like then time moves on again? Like you had to kill yourself. Like that's just like
that would suck.
That's how you get out of this loop.
Is there anything that stood out to you guys as things that he didn't try in the movie that you would have tried to do? Because the first thing I thought of was technically the blizzard is blocking them from leaving the town because of the traffic. Why didn't he just start walking?
He did.
He did at one point?
He died.
Like he tried walking out of the town?
Tried walking. And they found his body. In one of the montages.
Oh yeah, that is right. They did find his body and it was all frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. There goes that idea.
But it would have been like building, like using something better than walking into the blizzard, like it would be like I don't know, steal a fire truck. Do you know what I mean? Like, do something different. Like, get on a train.
Yeah, right? Apparently, my issues with these movies this month is I don't know what's going on with towns. I fucked up with the Edward Scissorhands thing. I'm fucking up with this town.
So, like, what's up with the community?
Yeah, that's the thing that's throwing me off in these movies. God forbid when we get to Frozen. Anything that you really would have wanted to do, though, if you woke up in this kind of position, Dace, like, would you go like, oh man, I get to learn how to do this, or, he eats all the cake and it's like...
A lot of murder and rape and anything illegal that you can get away with, because I'm just going to wake up tomorrow with a clean slate. Fuck it.
Just really take advantage of Nancy.
Oh, God, yeah. I would shoot things. I would shoot people and be like, oh, my bad. See you tomorrow.
Personal Grand Theft Auto game.
God, yeah. See if I can get 5 stars.
I don't think you can. They're out of town with the blizzards blocking the National Guard.
Well, it's going to be a very empty town when I'm done.
That's the goal, is to see if you can kill everybody in town by the end of the day when time resets.
Yeah, otherwise you got to do it again tomorrow.
Also, there's another question. If he stayed up, what would happen?
I think they tried it, but then they fell asleep, which was really bizarre because all they did was like not drink coffee and just like stare at each other.
Yeah, like I would just like make sure that I, stayed up, which maybe that would like cause some other weird time loop and time would collapse on itself and the universe explodes or something. I don't know. Caroline, what would you do if you were in this position?
I have no idea. I'm trying to think. Knowing me, I will probably just stay in bed.
For 10 years.
And not do shit. Yeah.
A couple of notes that I had written down. Bill Murray was bitten by the groundhog when they filmed that scene in the car. Apparently right after they got done that shot, it just turned around and bit his thumb or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was just kind of like, oh my God, I really do hate fucking groundhogs. Psychiatrist asking, how's tomorrow for you? I thought that was great. How annoying is Ned?
He's annoying, but he's not like, he's a townie annoying. Like all he does is sell insurance to like the same people, I guess. So he's annoying, but like you can't help it. It's that town.
I don't know. See, he just got under my skin of the whole like, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Bing.
I would have shot him first.
I do love the punch though. It's just like Ned Ryerson.
Was that the Good Day streak? Like, was that the final end, or was that just?
No. The end is when he's signed up for all the different life insurance and stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
He's his best customer, kind of a thing. I think that the punch is like when he gets to the point a little bit before the suicides, where he's just like, "Oh fuck this." Because really, how many times can you deal with Ned without just wanting to punch him in the face or kill him if you're Dace?
Yeah, there should have been like a murder thing. He doesn't harm anyone else.
Yeah, you should have killed Ned. Just one shot of him with like a revolver or something. Ned's dead body, and he's just kind of like, what?
Him
Bing.
giggling, just laughing, like, I did it.
Curious if he would have just shot the groundhog in one of the scenes too, What did you guys think about the old homeless man?
Super sad.
Because it's apparently in the script he's doomed. There is no way for him to save his life.
No, I think that's why in the end he just ignores him.
Yeah.
And like the good version, the good ending.
Yeah, there's no, like, rewatching this, I mean, I had seen the movie a couple years ago, but rewatching it this time, I was just like, well, I don't remember them wrapping up anything about the homeless guy. And then when it gets to the end and they didn't, I was just like, oh, damn. So I looked it up, and apparently in the script, he was supposed to walk by with Andie MacDowell, walk by his, like, dead body on the side of the road. And she was just going to be like, is he? And he's going to be like, yeah. And he just drops off a poem that he, like, places on his body that is about, like, his thoughts on loss and how it's inevitable and all this, like, which if that would have been the perfect day, that would have been a really sad part of that day.
Let alone you had this prepared in your pocket, like you just
Yeah.
Here you go, dead person. Like
if you were Andie MacDowell, wouldn't you be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You do that to like roadkill and people get upset. You can't do that to a live person, like a previous person on the street.
Like, is this random old homeless person dead? Yep, I know. And I wrote a poem ahead of time. You want to go get ice cream?
want to go to this dance and then make out. Like, that's the good ending. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's unless she's really morbid. She's like, ooh, look, a dead body. Like, let's go poke it. Like, oh, shit.
So, I didn't mention this before. The Rotten Tomatoes score is 96 and an 87. So just slightly higher when it comes to that versus Edward Scissorhands. Although lower when it comes to the audience scores. I'm surprised about that one. But this is one of those movies that's widely acclaimed by a lot of different people. This was preserved in different museums and everything. And I like it a lot. I think I like this movie overall better than Edward Scissorhands. But I can't watch it as often. Do you guys kind of agree about that?
Yeah.
I watch it every year. So
On Groundhog Day?
yeah. Well, not on Groundhog Day, but at least once a year.
You should just repeat it. But I think it's a solid movie. I didn't give my score for Edward Scissorhands. That was around like a 6 or so. I think I'd have to give this about a 7. But Caroline, what's your 0 to 10? And is there anything else that you want to throw out there? Favorite stuff, least favorite stuff, whatever?
I mean, I just really like the montage of him trying to kill himself. I feel like that was probably my favorite part of the movie, and the little groundhog. I'll give it a 5. I'm just like not into comedies. They don't warm our heart.
Cheng?
For me, like, it's an 8. Like, I love this movie. I've seen like I'm like with Dace on this one. I see this movie like once a year. It's one of those things where you learn a little bit more about the movie almost every time. Someone always mentions like new facts or like favorite moments, and then I guess like some writer also like releases trivia. It's like, oh, by the way, then this happens. Like, what? Like, that took years to come out about the whole like curse, the like gypsy curse, whatever. So I feel like there's a very big cult around this movie, and I'm definitely part of it. I have never gone to like the ceremony though. That's actually on my list to do. Is actually go to that town and see Paul. What was it? The groundhog coming out of the stump.
The real one, or because they filmed it in a different town for the movie.
Well, like a one, like a ceremony of this thing.
Okay, yeah. The real town's Punxsutawney, but they apparently couldn't film in Punxsutawney, or they didn't like the look of it or whatever like that. So it's I think it's Woodstock, Illinois, if I remember correctly. And that town has taken over the idea that they're the real Groundhog Day town because of the movie. Like that part where Bill Murray steps in the puddle, they have a little plaque that says Bill Murray stepped here. It's like ridiculous how they do that kind of stuff. But
they turned into a tourist trap. It's awesome.
Yep. So anybody that goes to the town, it's like, this is the part where we film this part of Groundhog Day, and this is the part where we film this part, and this is where Bill Murray killed himself with this. That kind of stuff.
So then you get these like fans trying to reenact it.
Everybody just punches Ned Ryerson. Dace, what's your score, and anything else you want to throw out there?
I would give it an 8.5 because, again, it's one of my favorite Bill Murray movies, and I do watch it at least once a year. And the only bad thing about this movie is I can't listen to I Got You, Babe after the movie for at least 3 months.
Yeah, I can't listen to that anyway, but after the movie, you're really just kind of like, I'm going to mute this beginning part. When it gets to the part where he smashes the alarm clock, you're like, yes!
Ironically, it was not this movie that ruined it for me. It was like Look Who's Talking. Or like Look Who's Talking 2 had I Got You, Babe, too.
Wait, which was the one with the dog? Was it 3?
That was Look Who's Talking. No, wait. Is that 3? No, damn it, what's the third one?
Look Who's Talking one. The first one's the baby. The second one's a second
2
baby,
babies.
Right?
Yeah, 2 babies.
Roseanne's one.
Roseanne. And then Look Who's Talking also?
Look Who's Talking Now.
Look Who's Talking Now.
That's
okay.
what it was. Yeah, I remember my sister and one of her friends, my mom, went to go see that. At the same time, I went to go see, I think, RoboCop 3, which was just like, yeah, fuck this. I want to go see a robotic cyborg blow people in half and shit. You can watch the one about talking dogs or whatever, It's like,
Yep. You made the better choice.
I don't know. RoboCop 3 is kind of garbage. Tell us what you think about Groundhog Day in the comments below, everybody. We have 2 more movies to go through. Frozen is next. This is going to be interesting. Click on that if you're on YouTube. If you're on iTunes and Stitcher, then all you got to do is sit back, relax, and we will be right back in part 3.